ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. The number 7 occupies a very special place in Jewish tradition and many other traditions as well. We see, for instance, that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. According to Jewish tradition, the day of rest is part of the creation. In other words, God created the world in 7 days, really. 6 he worked, 7th day he ceased from working, he ceased from creation. And we see that in numerous examples in Jewish tradition. For instance, not only is every 7th day a day of rest, every 7th year is called Shemitah. It's a year of rest for the earth. You're not allowed to plow the earth. You shouldn't seed the earth. You shouldn't do anything with it. Let the earth rest. What do you eat on the 7th day? Well, the Torah says you'll eat from what is left over from the 6th day. The 6th year, will be very productive. So you will have enough to eat on the 7th year as well. Not only that, every 7 periods of 7 years, it's after 49 years, 7 times 7, the 50th year is called Yovel. That is a year of rest for the earth once again. Not only of rest, debts are annulled. The properties go back to their original owners. Maybe as a sign that the earth is really the Lord's, that we are not really the owners in this world. So the number 7 we see is very important. There are 7 days of Sukkot, of Pesach, of Passover in Israel, for instance. We see the number 7 appears all over. Yet, suddenly, the number 8 appears also. When does one circumcise a Jewish child? According to the Torah, on the 8th day, you have to circumcise a Jewish child. Why not on the 7th? Well, that's what the Torah says. The 8th day, that's when you have to circumcise. Why is it the 8th day? What is the importance of the 8th day? You know what our rabbis say? God created, according to the story, the narrative in the Torah, in the Bible, God created man and woman on the 6th day. Our rabbis say, on the 6th day, God placed them in the Garden of Eden, in Gan Eden. That same day, they disobeyed God. That same day, they were expelled from the Garden of Eden. However, due to the grace of God, he permitted them to stay in the Garden of Eden for Shabbat as well. But on the 6th day is when everything happened, and that's it. And on the 7th day, they were still there, and starting the 8th day, they were expelled already from the Garden of Eden. We signify, we have a special ceremony for the end of the Sabbath, the end of the 7th day. It's called Havdalah. Difference between what is holy and what is not holy. And one of the things we use are spices because we feel that we have an additional spirit. The spirit of the Sabbath is abandoning us and we feel somehow weakened, so we smell spices. But there's something else also, ceremony with light. We light what should be really a torch, more than 1 wick. Why do we do that? Because according to our tradition, when Adam was expelled from the Garden of Eden, God taught him how to use fire. Maybe with 2 stones, how to produce fire. Because now he was going to transform nature. What do you need in order to make things using what nature has? You need energy. You need the warmth that fire gives you. In other words, really, that the 8th day, when Adam was expelled from the Garden of Eden, is the beginning of the history of humanity. The first 7 days are the history of God. God created the world. We didn't do anything. But on the 8th day is when we start fending for ourselves. Now we will have to make sure that the earth produces. We won't be able just to pick an apple off a tree, because if we don't plant the tree, there won't be any trees around to feed us. We have to domesticate animals. The animals are no longer as peaceful as they were in the Garden of Eden. Some are ferocious. You have to do something altogether different in order to survive in this world. There's a story in the Talmud that says the following, a conversation between a Roman by the name of Rufus and Rabbi Akiva. The Torah says that on the 8th day you have to circumcise a Jewish child, a Jewish male child. So Rufus says, why do you do that? Because the Torah says, if this were the will of God, Rufus says to Rabbi Akiva, all Jewish boys would be born circumcised if God wanted us to circumcise ourselves. Obviously. So Rabbi Akiva said, the difference between wheat and bread. God creates wheat, but we convert the wheat into bread. Our job in this world, one of our purposes in this world, is to improve, to fulfill, to complete the creation that God did. In other words, Brit is the circumcision, is a way of going a step further of the creation of God. It's what we contribute to the betterment of this world. In other words, we see again that the 8th day is really the beginning of this newborn baby. He is now entering into a covenant with the Jewish people, so that the first 7 days, those are really the days of the Lord. From the 8th day on, it is the history of humanity. Maybe this is why our rabbis also established 8 days for Hanukkah, because they established the holiday. Of course, it was mirrored after the celebration of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle in the desert. But the number 8 comes into play as our contribution to the betterment of this world. So make sure that you are not a destroyer of this world. To the contrary, that you are a builder, that what God gave you, you try to improve in this world, including yourself.